Mr. Joe Turnham, how are you doing,
I'm
sir?
doing great, Chief. Good to
Thanks
see
for
you.
coming down through.
Thanks for having this forum for us.
All right. How in the world did anybody ever get the notion to bring T100 project to Tuskegee?
The great legendary Wizard of Westwood, Coach John Wooden, said, "I will get ready, and then perhaps my chance will come." So in economic development, we've worked for a number of years in getting ready, having property, understanding your story, working with great leadership. And I would like to take a point of personal privilege and thank everyone that's here. Down a little bit, Mayor? Okay. And thank everyone that's in the room, everyone here I know and are friends and so accomplished and landmark things that you've done in your life in so many different ways. And really the solutions to all our problems are really before us in the room and the viewers that watch your program, Chief. And you know, I think about not just the local contributions, but a lot of times nobody's a prophet in their hometown, but I think of You Got the Power, and I think about landmark civil rights cases and the people in this room that have affected people all around the world and still do every day with the things that you do. And understanding, having been in politics and leadership and participating in elective endeavors, how hard it is and how you usually don't get credit for the things you do. And it's real easy to get negative. And the current leadership, Mayor Haygood and the Chamber, Loretta and Karen and each of you.
Okay, and all that patting on the back.
All right, got to do that though.
How did anybody decide to go against Boeing to compete for an airplane development operation in Tuskegee?
All right, so T100 is a result of the TX trainer program. So the Air Force is going to buy 350 brand new trainers. Companies can bid on the trainer. This is a very different project. Companies have to select a site and a community from which to compete for the bid. So at the end of the day, you had Leonardo DRS, an Italian-American company, Boeing, and Lockheed Martin. At the end of the day, the bid was based on lowest price, technically acceptable. So 3 companies and 3 aircraft wound up being certified by the Air Force to be able to compete.
And I'm still trying to determine
all right,
how did Tuskegee get into that mix?
This was initially a collaboration with the city of Auburn. It's all about relationships. So there were some Auburn University engineering grads that were executives at Leonardo. And when the short list came out, this project has been in process for about 10 years. It came and went, came and went. When they finally came back, they were looking at about 12 states. And they were looking at 143 communities that had airports primarily. We've got a pretty famous airport. We've got an interstate. Well, the executives saw the short list from the Department of Commerce and they said, why isn't Auburn on this particular list? Well, Auburn came back and said, we don't have an airport that can support a project like this. But we work closely with Joe Turnham in Macon County, and they do have an airport. And we trust Joe and the leadership there. So we actually submitted a joint request for information as Auburn and Tuskegee originally. And that's the way the project came to us. And so, it's also about what we're doing, Chief, with regional collaboration. Companies don't look at cities, they look at corridors, and they look at areas. So we have to be part of the collective corridor and be a credible participant in the corridor. So that's the way the project came to us. And it had many iterations. It came and went, and then about from November of 2016 to about February, March of 2017, Leonardo decided to bid this project through its prime, DRS, in Arlington, Virginia. And it was at that point that the work that we had done for 4.5 years had allowed us to win the site selection process with Leonardo.
Was it a fair process?
A what?
Fair. F-A-I-R. Fair.
The bidding process or the site selection? Because what I want everyone to understand is we won the site selection contest. Unlike most economic development projects, most of the time a company selects a site and then they build a plant because they've already got something in play. T100 was a competitive bid. The companies had to select a site and a community, then submit the bid. So Boeing already had a factory in St. Louis. Lockheed already had a factory in Greenville, South Carolina, but Leonardo DRS did not have a facility. So, and it's not, I mean, we sold our history for sure, but we also sold our asset. We got a 5,000-foot runway. We're on the interstate in our metropolitan regional area. In a 50-mile radius of here are 900,000 people and 400,000 potential workers. We've got Aerospace University, Aerospace School of Aerospace Engineering that's accredited, the only HBCU with an accredited aerospace engineering program at Auburn University. So we knew our assets and we sold them and we competed. Originally we lost the site when Raytheon was the prime with Leonardo to Meridian, Mississippi. And then when we came back, we actually supplanted Meridian, Mississippi. I mean, when we won this site selection process with Leonardo, we outdueled Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Meridian, Mississippi, a community in Florida, a community in North Carolina. So, you know, in the other piece, and you hadn't asked this question, but I'll say, this community didn't do anything wrong. It only did things right. And we'll talk about that in the exit interview that we had with Leonardo. Mayor Haygood was in that meeting.
Yeah, let's talk about this community. Your friends out of Auburn respected you enough to have confidence in you.
Correct.
That there may be a possibility.
Correct.
You brought it to this community. Did that represent future shock when you talked about the possibility of T100 in this community? And I'm looking for truth now.
Sure.
What did you run into?
As far as impediments to do it, or?
Impediments, hope, help, whatever.
Well, first of all, and I know we're talking about the psychology of this, nobody has grieved more about this than your economic development director, but I thought it to be provident, quite frankly. There were, but I also knew that it was a result of I will get ready and then perhaps my chance will come. You know, the first thing we had to do, there were no surveys, there were no wetland studies, there were no endangered species studies, there were no geotechnical studies, no hydrological studies. There was nothing done at Moton Field. Even if you had the land, you had to prove that that land was sufficient to be able to build, you know, a $300-400 million facility there. So we went out and we did that, and we invested the money in that, knowing we may not get it, we may not win. And one of the takeaways we've got, we now have 105 acres at Moton Field that's certified. So the next one is, and Mayor Neal put it perfectly. We have some takeaways and some accomplishments for this. I will have to say that I have zero, that first of all, and sometimes, and you're the revealer and you share the truth, that the hard thing in economic development is usually I'm operating under written confidentiality, and the mayors that are here understand NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, and the very nature of economic development is very sensitive, and it's very almost secretive. It doesn't seem fair, but you have to honor those things. And this went on and on. So we're working behind the scenes, but all the leadership that I went to, the state of Alabama, the local officials, the Tuskegee family across the country were only wonderful. And I can just tell you that I feel I harbor no regrets. I wouldn't run a play differently. I wouldn't do anything differently. And the ultimate award, the budget for these 350 aircraft was $13 to $17 billion, and the Boeing bid was $9.2 billion. They bought the book of business. They wanted it to exclude others from being in this space of manufacturing. They didn't want Leonardo to build a beachhead and then compete for the next fighter jet or the next project. And even Lockheed Martin told its shareholders, we were billions of dollars high. And just my gut feeling is Leonardo was the second bidder, but it was several billion more. CEO told me, he said, Joe, if the Air Force came back and said, will you build these 350 planes for $9.2 billion? He said, it would destroy our company. We can't do that. But, Boeing's one of the top 10 or 20 largest corporations in the world, and their commercial jet aircraft business is so strong, they did not want to lose this space in the defense sector because Boeing had been declining in its percentage of defense contracting business.
What did you pick up in this experience? And lower your mic just a little bit for it. What did you pick up in this experience that must never happen again if an opportunity such as this presents itself, that you can articulate to not only this audience, but to the leaders and the potential leaders of this community?
There again, I don't think we. Loretta had T100 Fridays at Loretta's Dry Cleaners. We had alumni. We had letters to the editor. We had probably 40 communities pass resolutions of support for Tuskegee. Nobody in this community ever pushed back for what we were doing. So the thing that I regret is that we raised expectations and we were not able to do it. And as Mayor Neal so articulately put out there, you don't want to create hope and dash hope. Create hope and dash hope, because you do that enough and people become hardened to anything that's positive. And I think this grieving process is appropriate for people to understand that we only did things right. Did the Clemson football program do everything wrong because it lost to Alabama in the championship? We made the championship of economic development projects probably for a decade in the defense sector. And if time permits, I'll tell you some of the things that are happening post T100 that I think will give your viewers a warm feeling about what they collectively did, because this was a community effort.
That was my next question. Was this community adequately advised on the processes, the needs, and etc.? I say that because we had, as positive as you sound, we still had some people running around out there saying, we don't need nothing like that, no how. We ain't ready for that, which meant that we are not ready for that yet, okay? So was the community adequately informed this time, or can we improve that next time?
I think this community was phenomenal, and can we impart more information to be more sophisticated? I think we did. We probably generated $500,000 to $1 million of free and earned media, whether it was WSFA, we were making international news. It was the T100 will be built at historic Moton Field, Tuskegee, Alabama. At the Paris Air Show, we were, invoked in articles and press releases. To me, I was overly impressed with what we all did. There are always conspiracy theorists about something that happens or gets dashed or doesn't win, but I'll be 60 years old this year, and I've done politics and business. It doesn't affect me, but I have nothing but praise for everybody in this room and everybody in this community and the leadership of this community and the things that they did to support the project. Thought the mayor was masterful in his media, and you know, anything we asked anybody to do, they pretty much did. And I want to say this too, Chief, this was not just Tuskegee's project. The state of Alabama wanted this, the governor's office, the Department of Commerce, the congressional delegation. I've never seen a more bipartisan effort by a group of people to try to help us win a project. From Senator Shelby to Governor Riley to Terry Sewell, that doesn't even represent this district. The Congresswoman was working the CBC. The people were doing things that were phenomenal, and that's only gonna build a foundation. We raised our profile, as Omar Neal said. We raised our profile, and I think the next one will be even better. You know, I don't know what God will bring us, being a person of faith, but I have to believe that there was a providence in this, and that there's something on the other side of this.
Ask you that tough question that I asked you before.
Sure.
And I'm not going to kill you this time with the semi-truck. But you have a wealth of information in your head. Your friends brought you on board and schooled you, used you as a conduit to this community. And if you walked away today, all of that information would go with you. If we go into another project like this, should we have somebody from this community glued to your side to interpret the pros, the cons, and etc., to make sure that this community never loses, whether you are here or whether you are not?
Well, and I think this is part of the process, this transparency, talking about economic development as a community endeavor. I think, you know, the show, the interviews we did about Exit 38, and Mayor Neal talking about, you know, bringing your store to where the customers are, which we're doing from Shorter to Franklin to Tuskegee, is important to us. I'm hoping I'm imparting this. I mean, this isn't really about anything that I do special. I think that we're starting to do economic development correctly. And the one place every month that every community can meet and have a stakeholdership is at the Macon County Economic Development Authority. The town of Shorter, the town of Franklin, the town of Notasulga, the city of Tuskegee, the Macon County Commission, the Macon County Board of Education, the Chamber of Commerce, the legislative delegation, Tuskegee University, all have board memberships, and we hope, as we do our new strategic plan for the next 10 years, that every entity in this community will have a hook and a tether into what we're doing and know what we're doing, because I won't be here forever.
That's right. I want to dig a little bit deeper, because my thinking is economic development. Joe Turnham, tied to a graduate from Tuskegee University in engineering or whatever. Should that be done to benefit this all or mostly black community for future growth and development? See, you can go places and do things and say things that a lot of us can't do. But if you would groom an educated and capable young black engineer or whatever to be able to penetrate those past barriers, wouldn't that help to grow Tuskegee for future?
Absolutely. And I think we want that. And I think empowering the people that are in this room to do it is just as important. Because a lot of the things that we have built in our building are transcendent from me or from any board. The mayors know they're going to start things that they will plant a tree that they will never see fruit from, but you still got to plant it. So I think we're doing it. I do think my life story and how I came to Tuskegee. I'm probably the only 58-year-old white male divorced guy that's moved to Tuskegee in the last year or two. And I put my bucket down where my life was. I live here, I vote here, I shop here, I sleep here. I experience everything that the citizens of this community do because I think that's important. I can't sell a product that I'm not part of. So that's why. And so I hope that example, and I hope my life, and I hope the things that I'm doing are transcendent and to make them transcendent. And Chief, I am so grateful to you for this format and for this for this way to explain these things to the people through the Revealer. And you're to be saluted for this event today.
I hear you and hope for the future of Tuskegee, and I hear you saying that the dream did not fail us. Elaborate on that if you would.
No, the dream did not fail us. And in fact, I can tell you today, and thanks for giving me an extra minute or two to explain this, we have people right now looking at Moton Field. We have people looking at our industrial sites. We're inventorying more product. There's now almost a generational diaspora of investors and people that don't even live in Tuskegee that are tied to Tuskegee through their relatives, ancestors, coming back, meeting with the mayor, meeting with us, meeting with the university, trying to figure out ways to bring funds, bring investment, bring reinvigoration into the town square, into housing, into economic development. And I really think that it's an accelerator that started that none of us could stop if we wanted to. But I feel good. I've had to deal with it psychologically because I just felt like T100 was the dream and project of a lifetime for me. I probably won't see one like it. But I'm working a forest products project. I'm working Korean suppliers. I'm working a Canadian company, a Turkish company. And you have to realize most of the things you work on in economic development you don't get. So you just have to keep going. And me of all people, if I directing economic development, if I get low and blue or woe is us, we didn't get it, the dream is dead, the dream is gone. The dream is the dream is not a project. The dream is the dream and the future. And I think our future is more secure because we competed to the whistle.
Thank you.